If you like our content, please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get alerts when we introduce new videos. In this video, I'll demonstrate how to install and operate a Zigbee Yale door lock and a Zigbee Ashram light bulb into the RUCKUS IoT controller. So from the RUCKUS IoT controller dashboard, I would go to the IoT APs tab, and I'm going to select one of these APs to connect to that lock. So in this case, I'm going to select the R650, and that'll bring up a window on the side, and it'll say to scan for the IoT devices, or you could restart the IoT service. But let's look a little bit more at the information that we have here. On the IoT AP approval, that is on, and I'm going to scroll down, and you'll notice that there's two radios on this AP. Radio 0 is set for Zigbee, and we have some options there between Zigbee and Zigbee Asa and radio 1 is set for BLE. So I'm going to be using radio 0 since this is a Zigbee device. So I'll scroll back up to the top, and before I do the scan, you need to know a little information about the device that you're scanning, because each IoT endpoint has a specific sequence for registering with the RUCKUS IoT controller. In this case, for the Yale lock, I'm going to put in the master code followed by pound, then I'm going to press 7 followed by pound, then I'm going to press 1 followed by pound, and I'm going to have to wait up to 60 seconds for the scanning window to complete. So I've got a camera focused on that lock, and I'm going to go ahead and scan for the IoT device, and as soon as I do that, I'm going to then punch in those codes. So I'll click on Scan for IoT Devices. And you'll notice here that we've now picked up the device. The scan has been successful, and it gave it a name. Now, the reason the name showed up here is because I had scanned this device once before and it recognized the MAC address. But normally you would give that device a name. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that, and then I'm going to stop the scan. And now if I go back to my dashboard, you'll see that we have one device that is registered, and that device is using a Zigbee protocol. So if I want to control that device, I would go back to my IoT devices. You notice that we only have the one, which is the Yale lock, and I'm going to click on that. That'll bring up the side window. I can get some device information on that, such as the time, the basic information such as manufacturer and power source and so forth, and talks a little bit about the door lock, but what I'm more focused on is the available commands at the bottom. So theoretically, I should be able to control that lock. So right now the lock is in the lock state, so I'm going to select apply, and you're going to notice that when I do this, it'll take a couple seconds for that signal to propagate. So I'm going to select apply. It says that the operation was successful. Now I'm going to go ahead and lock it. And that was successful. Go ahead and unlock it. And once again, we'll go ahead and lock it just to show that we have control. So as you can see, we've been successful in onboarding that Yale lock IoT endpoint, and we can now control that from our IoT dashboard. The next thing I want to do is to demonstrate onboarding a Zigbee Ashram light bulb. So I would go back to the dashboard and I would select the IoT AP that I want to use. So in this case, I'll select the IoT APs, and for this one, I'm going to use the R510. So I could scan for the device, but let's go ahead and look at what we have here first. If you notice on the radio information, we only have one radio. This particular AP has an IoT dongle. The mode, in this case, I have set it for Zigbee, but we could use Zigbee or BLE or Zigbee Asa Abloy. So we're going to select Zigbee because this is a Zigbee Ashram light bulb. I'll take the default for the set channel and the defaults for the power and so forth, but those could be adjusted. So before doing the scan, I need to understand what the process is for detecting the Ashram light bulb, similar to what I did for the Yale lock. This information is contained in the IoT controller configuration guide. So if I went to my support site and I scrolled down on my documents, I would want to get the controller guide that matches the release of IoT software that I have, and that's this particular one. So I'd open that up, take a look at that document, and that brings up the document, and then I could go to the table of contents to find where that information is. You'll notice here that it says it's on page 73. So if I go to page 73, this shows me what I need to do to manage my Ashram light bulb. Let's blow that up a little bit. So you notice it says that to discover the Ashram light bulb, complete the following operations. Make sure the bulb is off, switch the bulb on for 5 seconds, then turn it off for 2 seconds, and then repeat those steps 5 times, and then switch on the power. So that's the process to get the bulb to talk to the IoT controller. So let's go back to the controller. Now I'm going to go ahead and scan for the IoT light bulb device. So I've got a camera focused on the light that I'm going to be using, so I'm going to scan for that device. And you'll notice that we now have the light that's picked up, and it'll go ahead and flash a couple colors. So we'll give that device a name. We'll call that the Ashram light bulb. We're going to accept that, and then we're going to stop scanning. Now, if I go back to my dashboard, you'll see that now we have 2 devices. We've got the Yale lock, and we have the light bulb. So if I go to my IoT devices, you'll notice here that this is my Yale and this is my light bulb. Let's see if we can control that light bulb. So I'll click on that. That'll bring up my tab on the right. I've got my device information. If I wanted to look through that, and I've got my available commands. So there's a number of things that we can do here. I'm not going to go through all these things, but for example, we could control the color, we can control the level control, and we can turn the bulb off and on. So let's start by turning it off and on. So right now it's turned on. I'm going to toggle it. That turns it off. Toggle it back on. That turns it on. If I want to turn it off with that button, it turns off, and I can turn it back on. If I want to go up to my hue and saturation, I could go ahead and adjust that. You'll notice that that changes color. So as you can see, we've successfully onboarded this bulb, and we can control the bulb from this point on. This concludes our demonstration showing how to discover, configure, and operate an IoT Zigbee Yale lock and a Zigbee Ashram light bulb using the RUCKUS IoT controller.